Hi everyone, I'm Michael.
And I'm Patrick, and you're watching another episode of Star Wars News and Views. Today's discussion will be more about views than news. We're going to be talking about our theater memories from seeing Episode 1 for the first time and the hype leading up to
Back in May 18th, 1999. Almost 15 years ago now. It seems like yesterday for me.
Actually, it is 15 years ago, longer than that. I know.
No, it's 15.
I know,
15
right?
plus change.
Plus change.
Jeez.
So,
my God.
from my perspective, okay, let me start off. I'm 24, so when that came out, I was 9 years old. I was, a young child. From my perspective, as someone who is that young, most of my friends, some of them had, but most of my friends had not seen the original trilogy. I did, because I had older brothers, so I grew up watching them. They don't put it on VHS all the time. I watched them. I love Star Wars. And leading up to Episode 1, I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Toys came out before the movie did, and I was like, playing with these toys, the Lego versions of them. I was so excited. I was totally in the world for this, and I saw it with my friends, with our parents too. We were so young.
Yeah, kids.
I know, right? Yeah. But I went with my friend too, my best friend. We went and saw it, and afterwards we're just like, oh my God, that was amazing. Because even as a kid, seeing the original trilogy, I loved it. But at the same time, the special effects were great, but they're a little bit sort of dated at that point.
Did you see the special edition in theater?
No, I did not.
No, I missed that.
So they were a little bit dated to us, but when we saw Episode 1, we're like, whoa, these are crazy! Look at these effects; they're amazing. This is before Lord of the Rings. Anything like
it was very ahead of its time in the visual department. Yeah.
So that blew me away as a kid, especially at the time, right? Looking back now, it's like, oh, they're okay, but at the time, it was great. So yeah, it was great. And then coming home from that and wanting to reenact all the scenes that we saw. I think as a kid, especially looking back, Anakin was about my age too. So you could really see
he was 8.
Yeah, he was a year younger than me. So you could see yourself being him at that time in the Star Wars universe, seeing him kicking ass at the pod racing and everything. You're like
go-kart racing.
Yeah, you're like, that could be me, right? And afterwards, everyone wanted to. There was even I think a ride at Palladium where you're sitting in the pod racer.
Oh, the Episode 1 racer.
Yeah.
It's on N64 and Dreamcast and stuff like
so
that.
you could be Anakin doing this. It was as a kid, it was really great to see him. That was a huge part of my memory of that when I was a kid. When I grew older and saw the other episodes, it was a bit different. I didn't have that connection sort of with the character as I did as a child with Episode 1, which I really liked.
Yeah, for me, we were talking about this before, you saw it as a kid and you're really excited, and then you grew up and you kind of look back and you're like, oh, maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. There's a lot of stuff you watch when you're a kid that you kind of look back and well, okay, maybe the writing or the directing or acting was not quite as good as my 10-year-old brain thought it was. That's the problem. But but I'm a couple years older than Patrick, so for me I was 14, I think. And I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan. This was the hype was so big. The expectation was so huge. And the thing is, I remember seeing lineups, people camping out in lines. This is the thing. You were 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
I was 14. I was on the internet. I was talking to people in forums and keeping up with everything. So I had kind of a more advanced experience with it. It was a little bit more engaged with what was going on. Yeah. And I have never ever seen a release of a movie like that where there was just so much excitement around it. And I wanted to be there opening day. And now you take it for granted. Okay, Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, as we just saw the trailer, looks amazing. So 2 weeks before the movie comes out, we're going to go reserve our tickets.
Yeah.
We take that for granted now.
Yeah, online, it's so easy. But
that never happened. That was not a thing. First of all, there was no internet for you to go on to reserve it. Yeah. I mean, there was, but the infrastructure of these websites was not there.
You couldn't buy tickets online.
You couldn't go buy tickets online. So, but this was the first movie ever that I remember where you could actually go reserve your tickets. So I'm me and one of my best friends from elementary school, I was just going into high school, Andrew, I went there me and you were seeing Episode 1 opening days. How are we going to get tickets? How long the lamp is going to be? I'm I checked into this. We can reserve our tickets. So you had to physically go to the counter. And they were I remember they're looking at what, you want to reserve tickets?
Yeah.
Because it was so new.
Yeah.
Right? And going there opening day and just seeing the movie I love that movie when it came out. Just
Yeah.
not because it's the greatest movie ever made. It's not a particularly great movie, but
Yeah.
just the excitement of seeing it. I remember one of my most because I was a lot older, so I have very, very vivid memories of this
Yeah.
day. It was 6:20 p.m. the showing, so in May, so kind of mid-evening, and I remember sitting there every time I see the title crawl, episode 4, 1V, V1, right?
Yeah.
And then it was episode 1, just the one digit just floating there. I was like, this truly is the beginning. Like I remember thinking that, I was like, oh my god. And I to this day I have a soft spot for episode 1, just
Yeah.
because of my memories of it, my experience of seeing that. I remember
Me too, for sure.
coming out of that. And just talking about all the new, just to have new Star Wars.
Yeah, the
all
CG
the new
and stuff. It
we
was
had
like,
seen.
it's not great, but it's like still cool
Yeah.
to see it all, right?
I remember my friend next to me. It was a scene where they're entering Coruscant for the first time with the Queen's starship.
Yeah.
And you see the cityscape, and it's going like a 3D around the buildings. I was just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I remember him saying something like along those lines, and
Yeah.
just because it was just jaw dropping. But just if you take it as like a children's standalone whimsical fantasy adventure,
Yeah,
this-
made evidently clear by the introduction of a character like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, but then you have these aspects where like there's these dark aspects and the political aspects.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like George Lucas would defend it like, oh, it's time for kids, but it's like, what the hell's all this politics? And
Yeah.
but that's what that weird factor almost makes it kind of appealing in some way, just 'cause
Yeah.
it's so gonzo, and it really is.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
like
It's
it's
off
just
the walls
bizarre
in some ways,
and that's why it doesn't work as a Star Wars film very much, but
Yeah.
that's why it works just as a standalone thing, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so this is just a testament to just the excitement that I had around that movie. This is my ticket right here. I don't know if you can see this, if it's reflecting anything. Star Wars Episode 1, PG, admit 1, $8.55, tax $1.45, $10 even. May 18th, 6:20 on May 18th, opening day here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I also have some surviving tickets when I went back to see it, because I saw it 4 times. So here's May 22nd, 1999. Here is July 16th, 1999.
Theaters for a long
How?
time.
That's a long
Yeah, that's a
time
really long
after.
time.
So even though today I don't think Episode 1 is a particularly great movie,
No.
but we both have a lot of nostalgia. Just if you like, I'm sure a lot of you are watching this that were kind of too young to have a clear memory of that moment. But just if you're a Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
holy smokes!
Yeah, I mean, I saw it with people who hadn't really seen the original trilogy. I had, and I was like, my brothers always grew up, like I grew up with them, always like, you know, showing. We had the Star Wars blanket that I slept with all
Yeah.
the time and stuff. Like I had grown up with that, but a lot of other people had. So as being an introduction to Star Wars, I would kind of feel like it doesn't really give you the essence of what Star Wars is, but it's still a good movie, I think.
Still a good sci fantasy movie.
Yeah.
And I think me, because I was 14, I was young enough that I could kind of giggle at some of Jar Jar Binks' stupid stuff, but I was old enough too that I could appreciate the sophisticated aspects of it. So like,
I'll tell you one thing: the one action figure I never owned once was Jar Jar Binks. I'm just pointing that out,
neither
even as
did
a
I,
kid.
yeah.
But I think we can all agree on the Darth Maul fight was probably one of the coolest things I'd seen in the
In
longest
history.
time ever.
I don't know. I guess I was young enough that I was just excited to have more Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so I always remember coming out of that theater. I guess it would have been like 8:30 or something like that. And when like, I can't believe I just saw Episode 1. I've been waiting my whole life to see Episode 1,
Yeah.
and now it's here.
Yeah.
So
And the good news is we have 1 year left to go through that feeling again.
yeah. Except now I'm old enough that if the movie stinks, I'll be one of those guys
Cynics.
being like. So I do have a soft spot for Episode 1.
Yeah.
I guess in a lot of ways because of nostalgia. Like I have nostalgia obviously for the original trilogy, but even outside of nostalgia, I can see that they are amazing classic
great
works of art.
movies, yeah.
And I can't really say the same for the prequel trilogy, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
But like, just because of being there in that moment, having new Star Wars films.
Yeah, being a kid and going through
being
that and like
young.
getting through this hype to go through it with your
Yeah.
friends and just like it had been so long. It was like this really big build up. It was just
Yeah.
there was a lot of emotion involved with waiting for this moment.
guys-
So that's our like recap of Episode 1. Again, you know, as a critical look at the movie, maybe not the best, but as nostalgic and our experience and our emotions with it, it was good. I really liked it a lot.
The prequel hype was fun, as much as it was divisive. Even I used to go on message boards all the time and like get into debates and stuff like that. But I also learned a lot from people, and just that looking back, it was fun. Just to have that option to be able to do that. So guys, if you're old enough to have memories of seeing episode 1 in theaters, leave us your memories, whether good, bad. If you walked out hating it, we're not going to hold that against you. Nope. If you walked out loving it and don't understand why people hate it, I'm not going to hold that against you either, because I have a kind of Jekyll and Hyde kind of feeling toward it.
I agree.
That's all for today. We're going to do more of these episodes in the future, just our memories and experiences and opinions on Star Wars things that don't really relate to episode 7.
It's not the news, it's the views, really.
It's the views, so thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you can. Give us a like if you like anything, and leave us your feedback, and we'll see you guys next week.